Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Military Virtual Programming, MVP, through the USO. I'm Jared Rizzi. We are so excited to bring you this cooperation that we have here between Hallmark Channel, Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, and the USO. And we want to kick this off with two very special actors who are in a Hallmark movie together that will be out in just a few days. I want to introduce Jen Lilley, who you now see on your screen. Jen, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Yeah,
and we also have Trevor Donovan. There he is. Trevor, thank you both so much for spending some time. And the movie is USS Christmas, which also has, as you might imagine with the title, a little bit of a military connection. So first of all, thank you both for spending some time with us. Really glad to have you for this partnership with the USO. And let's just get started with, I see, Trevor, you look like you're in a place, and Jen, you look like, what have you been doing? You didn't just film this a couple days ago. What have you been doing for the last 8 or 9 months while we've all been kind of hunkering down together in quarantine? Jen, if you could start.
Well, I think,
Or
sorry.
You know what? This is, Trevor, you start.
I just jumped the gun.
How dare you?
Like I said, I got to apologize. I've been up for very, 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 very long time shooting. You could probably tell. So I might be a little bit hitchy and everything.
Trevor, you have to remember that you're tired is like me on my best day. So you know what? Just go with it. I mean, this is some cheekbones, man. I mean, I can't compete with that.
Thank you much. I was just going to say some kind of a silly comment. It looks like Jen's been pretty much decorating for Christmas for the past 6 months. What you got going there, Jen? Wow, as opposed to my stark, pathetic background, but it looks great. Right?
Thanks. Well, as Trevor very well knows, and as the USO knows, I've been hosting a fundraiser actually for Toys for Tots and the USO called Operation Christmas is Not Canceled. So we're giving away the Dream Christmas. People can win the Dream Christmas, and then of course support our troops and give toys to children in need. In the year where everything's canceled, we're just saying it's called Operation Christmas is Not Canceled. So I have been working night and day on that. And Trevor, I have a ring light. That's why I don't look tired. And let's see what else. Oh, you and I are both shooting, but 2 different movies now. So we've been doing that, but I'm excited about USS Christmas next Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, and there's so much that you guys are doing, not just with the charity work that you're doing, Jen, but also this movie and everything else, providing a little bit of that holiday cheer when we all could frankly use it, I think is something all on its own. So let's start with the work that you're doing for this, and what these Hallmark movies, they put out, whether it's Hallmark Channel or Hallmark, Movies and Mysteries, they put out these things, there's a slate of them every year and people love them. I love them. There's something that we just enjoy, and kind of, I think especially in this moment where we're all kind of stuck, and you're absolutely right, it's not canceled, and we're just doing it a little bit differently this year. So tell me a little bit about how you get into the holiday spirit, despite all the decorations that I see in your background, Jed. I'm gonna make sure that Trevor goes first, because if I don't let him, you know how he is. If I don't let him go first, What are you doing for the holiday? Also, because if I ask the guy first, or if I ask the guy second, he's just going to say whatever you just said, Jed. I mean, this is just how we are.
Or he's never going to get a word in edgewise, because girls love to talk.
So, Trevor, what are you doing?
Both of you guys are correct.
Thank goodness. What are you doing to make this holiday? I mean, this is different. We can't pretend. Jen's right. It's not canceled, but it is different. So, what are you doing to make this holiday special? What are you doing to make it? And what are you kind of adjusting for?
I kind of have a unique situation. I'm really, really excited about it. I grew up in a small little ski resort town in California called Mammoth Lakes. And I'm buying my childhood home right now back from my parents.
Whoa.
So I'm on a film right now in Canada. When I get back at the beginning of December, I'm going to head back up to Mammoth, which has already got a bunch of snow. And I'm going to be there with my parents, after a test and a little quarantine time and stuff for their safety. But I'm going to be back up there, and I'm going to start taking inventory on what I got to do for the house. And I'm going to spend the holidays, the Christmas holidays with my parents. So I'm
Well,
really
that's the
excited.
Hallmark movie, Trevor.
Yeah.
My goodness, what
Yeah.
like you're
I'm
buying your
going back to the small town. I'm literally living a Hallmark movie.
That's wild. Okay, well now I feel bad that I asked Jen to go second because Jen, how can you possibly top that? I don't even know.
Well, I can top it.
Hey,
Yes. I love this competitive spirit. I want to know how this worked on set. I
Who's
really,
the kinder
do.
person? No, I'm just kidding. But in the spirit of competition, no, I'm just kidding. I just adopted my second child from foster care. So, boom, my 4-year-old Caden's adopted from foster care. We got him at 4 months old, and we adopted him last year. And this year we just got to adopt his little brother Jeffrey, who we've also had since he was 4 months, and he's 2 years old now.
That's beautiful.
So we're really excited because it's the first year in a while where we've had a little bit of permanency in our home. So I'll be celebrating with my 4-year-old, my 2-year-old, and my 1-year-old, actually back in Virginia with my family. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then of course, celebrating Christmas is not canceled. So we're doing really well with that fundraiser for you guys and Toys for Tots. So that's been cool.
Jen, that's so the silver lining for me these last few months has been I actually have a 9-month-old at home, and he's about to experience his first holiday season. Sorry, Trevor, again, the bronze medal to you. I mean, I thought you had it with the buying your
bronze, the silver.
Yeah, somebody else has got silver.
I thought I was competitive.
I guess you're 9-month-old.
What am I not competitive? Okay. For people who also want to join this conversation, I certainly don't want to be. I
thought it was just competition between Jen and I. That's all.
I thought I was part of it, and I just did. For people who want to join this conversation and also give them a little bit of your version of holiday cheer, make sure that you put your questions in the Q&A feature on the Zoom window if you're watching it live. And if you want to ask the question live, you can put that in the little comment, and we'll be sure to bring your camera up and make sure that you get to ask your question directly to Jen and Trevor. I also want to mention that we had presented this originally, including Sheryl Lee Ralph, who's also got a movie, Christmas Comes Twice, coming out through the Hallmark channels, and she's not able to join us, but I'm so glad that I have the time with the both of you. Again, I don't want to be the only one to get to. I think we've closed out the medal stand, but I think other people should feel that freedom to get in. Let me ask a separate question before we get into the films themselves. This, and again, kind of acknowledging that this is a different year. What's a tradition that you absolutely love that you get to start around this holiday time? Because we all know we carry these memories, and these movies that you're a part of are part, and this is neither of your first Hallmark movies, so these are part of the traditions for a lot of people, but you guys also have the traditions you're bringing with your family, with Jen, with your expanded family. What are you doing, and what kind of things do you hold closest to your heart? And again, Jen will go first this time. I'm sorry.
Okay. I do want to say, I think, the gold medal, going back to that last question, probably goes to anyone in active duty. We have so much respect for you. I know, Trevor, you do too. So I just want to give you guys the gold because that was a big thing for me in this movie, was playing someone in the core family unit of a military officer. So thank you guys for what you do. I only know it from extension from my sister-in-law, who is a Marine wife. So you guys are awesome. My favorite family traditions, I think, are similar to most people's, which is I love baking cookies and eating the cookies and, decorating the tree and going around and seeing the neighborhood lights are probably my 3 favorite things to do in Christmas. Those are, and I think that goes for like a lot of people, where even if it does look different this Christmas, there's so many things that you can do that do maintain kind of continuity of being normal. So I think, the reason for the season is pretty prevalent this year, and I think you can still enjoy it.
Definitely. Trevor, what about you? I mean, family traditions, I would imagine you're going back to your childhood home. You've got to be feeling some things, man. I mean, I just looked up my old childhood home on Google Maps, and I was like, wait a minute, the Christmas tree that we had my kindergarten year is still outside the house. I looked at it in the overhead view, so I can only imagine going back and buying the thing. What are you going through, man? I mean, that's got to be a really beautiful feeling. And then, what traditions do you remember from that time?
Oh no, well, it's fantastic. I'm so looking forward to it. And I mean, I've spent every Christmas with my family since I was born, all the way through my adulthood. So I haven't missed one. We, for years, our tradition was, because I grew up out in the mountains in the snow, a beautiful white Christmas. We ended up when I was about 12 or 13, taking a 2-week surf trip to Mexico, and we did that for about 15 years. Our particular family tradition, my immediate family tradition, was always to be together. We didn't have much of a gift giving thing. The gift giving was if my brother or I couldn't afford a plane ticket to where my parents were, or to make it up, they would figure out a way to get us there. So it's the time together that's really the tradition in our family. Yeah, it's and I'm going back to where I grew up and where my parents are and where my happiness is. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's Christmas is it's a great time of year to start that off too. So
I think that's really special. And I think especially coming into this year, everyone can appreciate just how valuable that is. And of course, it's not just this year. For military families, if you've spent time away, you know exactly how precious that is. And that's one of the reasons why we try to put this together and offer through these MVP events, but also the USO's core mission to make sure that people understand exactly who, they feel that love wherever they are and whenever they are. And I'm very grateful the two of you can be a part of it. We've got, by the way, some questions coming in on the Q&A. I want to remind people to put questions there if you want to ask a question to Jen and to Trevor, or to both of them. You don't have to tell them which one has to answer first, but you do have to mention if you want to go live, you should put that in there. That way we get your camera up and we can get you ready to go. One of the questions actually, and it mentions the filming location for USS Christmas. So let's talk about this movie. Tell me a little. I know, Trevor, you're a lieutenant, and Jen, you're a reporter. I'm a reporter by training, so I immediately put myself in your shoes, which was very awkward once I started getting to the romantic trailer part of it. But talk to me a little bit about this movie, and then there's also a question: your favorite thing about filming in Wilmington. So people who are stationed out there or families out there, they want to know what the aspect of this. So a little bit about the movie and a little bit about Wilmington.
Who's going first? I'll go first.
I'm going to ask Jen to go first.
Yeah, ladies first. I jumped the gun on that first question.
So funny.
We're going to be giving you trouble for this the entire time, Trevor. So
I know. We kicked it off right. I like it.
First of all, I love Trevor Donovan. I love you, Trevor. He's such a good sport, and he's got a great sense of humor, if you can't tell. So we had a lot of fun on set. But Wilmington was special to me for a couple of reasons. One, I'm from Virginia originally, so I grew up in the era of Dawson's Creek. And so when I was going to Wilmington, there was a big part of me that was freaking out that I was finally going to Wilmington to film. I felt like I'd made it, so I was really excited about that. I was also really excited to be back in the South, and it restored my faith in humanity a little bit because everybody was really nice there. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see much of Wilmington because we were pretty quarantined. But it was cool. I mean, it was really cool to be on a Navy ship. I had no idea how big they are. And that was something Trevor's character talks about in the script. And we also filmed on USS Yorktown in Charleston. And that was cool because, we got to see the aircraft carrier. And my great uncle, John Tierney, was a rear fleet admiral for the Navy, for the Atlantic Fleet. And so I learned how you guys launch your planes off of the aircraft carrier this is a terrible probably picture and schematic in my brain of how my takeaway. So you guys feel free to laugh at me. I do have blonde hair, but my understanding was that it was almost like a catapult, like you guys, or as like a slingshot, like you guys basically get rubber banded into off of the runway. And I thought that was fascinating and terrifying and really cool.
That sounds about right. What about, so Sarah Powell had asked specifically about Wilmington, and I want to make sure that we get a little bit of that for both of you. I mean, was there anything, this is pre-COVID, so you got to actually experience the community, right? You said, Sarah,
No,
no, it wasn't. So you guys were filming
during COVID.
during
Yeah.
COVID. Okay, so
Mhm.
how much into the surrounding environment did you even get to go?
We wrapped what, two or 3 weeks ago?
What's that?
I don't think we did. I mean, we only wrapped like a month ago.
Okay, then I had the time.
Yeah.
You know what? I saw the calendar and I thought I assumed it was before. Well, then tell me about what you were able to experience within that COVID bubble then, because that's got to be a totally different experience than you would normally get.
Well, I had a lot of outs, you know, we weren't going to restaurants or bars or no gyms or any of that kind of stuff that you usually do in the social areas. But Wilmington, being the beautiful place it is, has beautiful beaches and these beautiful inlets and things where, you know, you could go be secluded and socially distanced and isolated by yourself. And I went and I rented surfboards and paddle boards, and I just went out and kind of enjoyed the outdoor activities of Wilmington and jogged a bunch around the immediate area. And I really, really love the place. It's right up my alley. The people that I did actually get to interact with and talk while I rented the paddle boards were amazing human beings. It just seems like a really cool vibe, and so for that was a lot of fun for me personally, because that's kind of right up my alley. Yeah, so I would love to go back and shoot at Wilmington again.
It sounds, I mean, even it's the kind of thing you can enjoy even now, because, you know, a little bit of that outdoors, a little bit of that, you know, you have a little bit of that freedom to do, to enjoy, you know, the beauty that's around you, even if you're being socially distanced, I guess. So you're filming this a couple, you know, within the last few months, and then when you're shooting a Christmas movie, I guess my question is, how do you make sure that you get into that Christmas spirit? Because it's not Christmas when you're shooting it. And now, Trevor, I understand that your character's kind of rough around the edges at first, but then warms up to Christmas. So how do you both be a Grinch and then have your heart grow some sizes? Like, how do you get into that? Because that's a very specific emotional space, right? Christmas is its own thing. Jen?
My tree goes up in October. I'm here for Christmas.
I forget that we're like looking in on Santa's workshop behind you. So it's like, you know, there's this whole, you know, I shouldn't, my mistake to underestimate really your level of preparedness for the holidays. What about you, Trevor? I mean, you start off the film, you got this square-shouldered guy who's not really interested, and then Jen is apparently able to melt that icy heart a little bit. What goes into that?
Well, his reluctance to get into the Christmas spirit is really based on his mother and father's relationship. It didn't work out, so I think he kind of holds that as like, you know, love doesn't really work, and, you know, long-lasting love doesn't really exist. So it's a result of his upbringing and his experience. So but as far as getting into the spirit, you've got Maddie, the reporter, who's very all about Christmas, and obviously the wonderful actress who played her is obviously all about Christmas. So she was very influential in getting my character and me into the Christmas spirit. And not to mention, you got to understand, when you're on a Hallmark set of a Christmas movie, it is Christmas. There's Christmas everywhere. You can't help but just be in the Christmas spirit. So that's very helpful. So.
Is it kind of like almost like a Disney scene where everything's just kind of like music piped in, and like, is there fake snow coming down when you're over at craft services? Like, how much are we talking here?
I can comment to that, Trev. So last year, my Christmas movie last year, my character was like Trevor's in this one. She was a Grinch and she did not like Christmas. And I went into my set that was my house and I was like, there's at least 300 poinsettias in my living room. I thought I hated Christmas. And they're like, you do. And I was like, okay. So yes.
She's a poinsettia farmer, but just happens to. No, I love that though, where you've got to work against these. I guess for me, I always think about this. You know, you can, on a bad day, you don't necessarily want to have that Christmassy feeling, so it can almost be encroaching on what you're feeling like. But you guys are pushing through, and you're making sure to spread that around, and I love that, especially when you're able to share it with people. And again, people who, there's a lot of comments, by the way, I'm looking at this, people who have enjoyed not just your movies, but Hallmark Channel movies, Hallmark movies and mysteries, all these things. Do you have, Sarah Kemp is asking, do you have a favorite Hallmark Christmas movie that you've starred in? She says she's obsessed with Spirit of Christmas that stars Jen.
Spirit of Christmas was awesome. That one, interestingly enough, was an indie film that got bought by Lifetime and then Hallmark bought it out later. So it wasn't an official Hallmark movie. That was my first movie as female lead in a romantic storyline. So that one's special to me, but I honestly think USS Christmas, and I haven't seen it yet, but I think it might be my favorite one so far, just because I think that it was rooted in a lot of reality. Which you don't always get, you know, and, you know, to be frank, and I really connected with that character. I loved working with Trevor. I loved working with Barbara. Stephanie Butler, who plays my sister, is incredible. But I found this storyline to be very timeless and very relatable and very grounded. So this one's taken place for number one for me.
Trevor, before you even, because you didn't go first on this question, and we've been giving you heck about that the entire time, I want to actually skip your answer. I don't even care what your favorite Christmas movie is, because Sheryl Lee Ralph is actually able to join us now, and I want to make sure that we get to her. She had some technical difficulties, but she's here, and why? I don't even care. Sheryl, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my goodness.
I've got to tell you something.
Please.
I was 19 years old. I had just graduated college. I was gonna sing, I was gonna dance, and I got offered a job with the USO, partnered with the DOD, the Department of Defense. And for a whole year, 6 months, I traveled one way around the world on bases and the other way around the world. I learned more about the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, the armies, the enlisted men, the officers, and it was just one of the best learning times in my whole career. And I got paid. Thank you.
Sheryl, you know, earlier I gave out some trophies because of some answers that were really like lovely, and I just want to say I'm going to have to reevaluate all the trophies we give because that's really. I mean, one of the things that I was saying earlier was that, you know, we're trying to spread a little bit of cheer, especially in a year where Christmas isn't as the holiday season is not as normal as it usually is. But you have been so generous of your time throughout, and what we want to do is make sure that people know that as soon as we can, we're going to try to make sure people get back out there and do the tours like you did, and hopefully pay you again. I don't know how that works, but I want to make sure that gets part of it as well. You know, Sheryl, I'm so glad you were able to join us, because I was the kid who had like the Dreamgirls, like original Broadway cast. So I have loved your stuff for a long time, but we want to talk about these holiday movies. So we were just talking about favorite ones. I skipped Trevor because I saw that you were here. I don't even care about Trevor's favorite Christmas movie anymore, but you've got one coming out. I'm sure he was going to say Christmas Comes Twice, which is the one that you've got coming out this season. Can you tell us a little bit about that before we start talking more about the amazing work that you guys have done? Because this is, of course, part of the partnership that we've been doing with the USO and the Hallmark Channel and Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. So tell us a little bit about Christmas Comes Twice.
Christmas Comes Twice is such a wonderful movie because, first of all, I got to work with the wonderful Tamara Mowry, who's the other half of the Tia Mowry twin set there. And that was just such a great working relationship. You know, when you work with a cast of people, sometimes you have chemistry, sometimes you do not. And we had such great, wonderful chemistry, which added to the movie, which is about a young woman who's at a crossroads in her life. She's unhappy. Things have not turned out the way that she thought. She goes back to a place where she was happiest, and she gets hit in the head on the carousel, and it puts her back in time. She just happens to be a scientist. So she spends a lot of time trying to figure out how in my scientific world did this happen? But in that place, in that time, she is able to address the things that went wrong and do it better. And in that space, she meets her favorite teacher, who she knows has died. The teacher was ill, and maybe the teacher knew, maybe she didn't, but the teacher was always carried on with joy. And she wants to change the teacher's future. And I'll leave it to you to watch the movie and see what really happens. But it's a wonderful movie about finding yourself when you are unhappy, what it might take sometimes to get to your happiness again. And I loved doing that movie.
See, that sounds, I think we find these moments in the holiday season where we're all just, we revisit. Trevor was just saying that he's buying his childhood home. Like, you just find yourself in those. I almost think that he should have just been in this movie, but you find yourself almost in the same roles. Like you find yourself going back. You can't help but go back in these moments. Sheryl, before you jumped on, we were talking a little bit about holiday traditions and how things are going to be a little different this year for you and your family. And I just wanted to make sure I asked you that question too, because I think, you've got all this stuff in your past that fills the trunks and closets and spaces in our lives and childhood homes. And then you've got what's happening this year, and it is a little bit different. And how are you managing that? What are you doing this year that's a little bit different? How are you trying to make it, what are you trying to preserve from those previous years that you've loved so much?
I've taken a complete detour. And in that detour, usually my Christmas spirit was all for my family and myself. But this year, we're going to use all of that to help other people have a much better holiday. I've called a bunch of my friends who sing, who entertain, who perform, and all of us are coming together, and we're doing a virtual concert for our community at large with songs, entertainment, and they're going to be able to watch it and stream it and have their holiday that way, because everybody is in need right now. I mean, look, if you're in New York, look what happened to the tree. Even the tree was sad. Oh my God, when they put the tree up, I said, oh, sweet baby. Oh my God, you sad little thing. Well, you sad, huge thing, you. Oh my goodness. I said, we all need to look at that tree, go inside out, and just imagine it in all of its would-be glory, but it will be in our imaginations. So,
I'm sorry, if people have not seen the tree, I would recommend, there's a little bit of sad, like melancholy joy in looking at this. I'm sure it's going to fill out eventually, but you're absolutely right. It's right now, it's a little different than, it's a very 2020 tree.
It's a COVID tree.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's the COVID tree.
Yes.
We have a live question that I wanted to get to, and there's a person on who's ready to join us. Tiffany, are you able to come on and ask a question here? I'd love to make sure that I'm not the only one who gets to talk to Jen and Trevor and Sheryl as well. Tiffany, are you there? Hi.
Hi. Can you
Tiffany,
hear me?
yeah, we can. You're on. What's your question?
Hi, I just wanted to say, first of all, I'm a Navy veteran, so I know what it's like to actually live on a ship. So it's really fun when I actually get to see them in the movies. I wish I had a romantic scenario like that when I was active duty, but, and I'm also a military spouse. I live in Camp Pendleton, so I'm definitely supporting military spouses in the Marine Corps side. But I am really excited to see this movie. And I would love to know what it's like to be like behind the scenes. And can you share any like of the fun moments that happened that were kind of like bloopers or just fun things that you could talk about?
Trev, you want to go first or you want me to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
I mean, any specific Coopery stuff, it's always interesting when you first get on set and start working with people. It's a very odd situation because you have to immediately become family. You have to immediately create this dynamic with the people you're working with. So you don't know them, and you're put in front of the camera and pretend all in love with each other. And sometimes that can go horribly wrong because the chemistry just isn't there. But luckily, I worked with wonderful Jen Lilley, who is a fantastic actress, fantastic person, and so professional and so passionate. She's so passionate about this project and obviously about Christmas. Again, I can't help but point out your background. So our time on set, I feel like the more fun you're having off camera, the more fun it's going to look like you're having on camera. It's just going to translate that much better. And the dynamic that we had, Jen and I, along with Barbara Niven and along with Stephanie Butler, it was so great, such great human beings, such sweethearts, that when it was time to shoot, it was like natural. It was like second nature that we were all just like this little family. So really good, I think. Again, I haven't seen it yet either, but I think this is going to be a really, really great movie. And I think we represented the military and the Navy well. The writer of the script, Andrea Canning, is a military wife as well. Her husband is ex-Marine pilot, so she had a lot of insight. Yeah, it was loosely based on, so she had a lot of connections. That's why we got to use these ships. They had a lot of connections within the military.
Was it hard filming in the small spaces on the ship?
You know what? There was a couple moments we had to shoot in this little room that was supposed to be the archives room, with all the archives from past Tiger cruises. Getting in there was a little tricky, I gotta be honest, I'm 6'2". I hit my head probably 150 times walking around that ship.
I was gonna say everything felt big to me, but I'm 5'2".
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So to answer your question, it was tricky. You've got a crew of 40, 50, 60 people, and then everyone's trying to get around. And you're trying to move cameras and equipment and lighting and this and that. So that was a little added issue, but to be on an actual ship that was used, the USS North Carolina and the USS Yorktown, was fantastic. It really brought you into really put things into perspective. Like Jen was saying, the aircraft carrier, the Yorktown, how you take off and land on that thing with those jets, with the cables and everything, is beyond me. It's impressive and terrifying at the same time. So
and then I would say for bloopers, funniest thing to me. Sorry, it glitched out. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. The funniest thing for me, bloopers wise, was, it's a Tiger cruise. So there's all these Christmas activities. And one of them was we were doing an ornament decorating station. And so me and the other actors, we were like, well, can we really have paintbrushes and paint? Because the worst thing in the world is when an actor's eating in a scene or drinking in a scene and they're not actually eating or drinking in a scene, or they have a prop and they're just like miming it. So everybody's like painting and I'm painting this star and I'm really painting in the scene, but I'm saying my lines. And as soon as we call cut, I'm like, wow, what do you guys' ornaments look like? Everybody else probably got the A+ in art class. Like, you would definitely hang their ornaments on your tree. Mine looked like my 1-year-old Julie did it, and Julie would have done a better job. I was literally like, so we all know I'm bad at art. It was horrible. It was literally the ugliest. Like, I didn't know you could have made an ornament star painted so bad. It was so bad. So for me,
Jen,
that was one of my
please tell me that ornament, you kept it and it's on your tree. Please. Oh no,
Listen, I can't let something that disgusting in my house. It'll like haunt the house or something. It's bad juju, bad energy.
Sheryl, you have the benefit of not having one of your co-stars here, so you can talk about pranks and nobody is there to like check you and be like, oh, that's an unfair telling of this story. So please, Tiffany's question was about some of the lightheartedness on set. I have to, you have the least oversight of your answer here.
Well, one of the things that's always very interesting is that people always ask us about snow in these movies. Now, this is my second Hallmark Christmas movie.
Right.
My first one was Christmas at Holly Lodge. This second one, the Christmas Carnival. Each one of them involved lots of snow. Well, of course, there was no snow where we were. So they shoot in these truckloads of fake snow. And I'm always so fascinated at how real fake snow looks. I don't know if they have different kinds of fake snow, but of course there's some fake snow that looks like shredded styrofoam, but it still looks really real. Then they've got some fake snow that's actually kind of wet, and you step on it and it's just like, wow, this is really Hollywood magic up in these Canadian mountains. But I love the fact that they make what is not there look like it is so absolutely there. Yeah. I've actually had snowball fights with fake snow and enjoyed it. So that was something I learned.
Now that sounds like a lot of fun. It also sounds like the kind of thing you could deliver to anywhere in the country if we really needed it.
We can deliver you some snow that will actually make you feel happy with it.
We did lose Tiffany because of a glitch on the live question, but there's a lot of questions in the Q&A box. I want to ask, and this is to Trevor, because I've been giving you so much trouble this entire time, and I know.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Come on.
And thank goodness you're able to handle it. You've got you're playing a military officer, a lieutenant. You're Allison Hermanson asks, did you reach out to anyone in the military for any inspiration or education on the role?
Well, I did speak to the writer, so I had a lot of nice discussions with her to get a little insight there, did some research, online, but most of my discussions was with Andrea, and just not only to get the insight from the military perspective, her being a military wife, but to also get the insight from the writer of the script herself. So that was the primary source of my research. And then of course, Top Gun.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely in that role, and there's certainly some big folks that you can, the big boots to fill there. Let's go for one more live question. I think we've got Sarah who's able to join us. Sarah, if you can turn your camera on, I know you've got some questions for the folks. Sarah, you're looking so festive.
I was very excited for this.
Sarah, wait.
I love that. Sarah.
I even have the mask.
I want to see your mask.
Awesome.
That's okay. Once again, I have to reevaluate the prizes that I was giving out earlier, because I feel like Sarah is now in the gold medal position.
I know. I keep getting knocked down.
Trevor, you're not even on the medal stand. You were asked to go home early. I'm sorry. Japan's going to be next year. I think you should try then. Sarah, what's your question for this? Be nice to Trevor. Be nice to Trevor.
Yeah, says the one talking the most trash on me. Yeah, I see how it is.
I lived in Germany for the past 3 years, so watching Hallmark Christmas movies was great and made me feel like I was back home, even though I was so far away from all my family. So thank you for all the movies you've made up to this point. But currently, I now live in Wilmington, North Carolina, where it's still very warm in November. So I was wondering, to piggyback on your answer, Sheryl, what's it like trying to film a really cold scene when it's really hot outside where you're filming?
Believe it or not, that goes back to something you learn in acting class, and it's called sense memory. And having spent a great part of my youth in Connecticut, where it can get pretty doggone cold with a lot of snow, I remember what it was like to go out and feel cold and have to, shake yourself or rub yourself or blow into your hands, if that happens to come up in your scene. But you just remember what it was like when you were very cold. Although I did a Christmas movie once, it was hot outside, and then they just said to us somehow, we're gonna play the heat. And I was like, we're gonna play the heat? But now we got all of this winter cold stuff on. They put some folks in like shorts and cutoffs and little tanks and everybody and with their flip-flops. And I said, wow, these are some daring people in this cold weather looking so warm. But believe it or not, it worked and we all had fun. But it's all about sense memory when you play the reality of the scene, remembering what it's like to be cold.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much, Sarah. I had a quick game that I wanted to play with all of you while we have a few moments left, and just some quick preferences for you. Now, we all have things that we like and don't like in the holiday season. So if I could just, and I'm going to go, just because it's the way it's on my screen, so I'm just going to say Jen, then Trevor, then Sheryl, please. If you were to choose one or the other one here, this or that, if you got making gingerbread houses or building snowmen, Jen?
Making gingerbread houses.
Okay.
Tough one.
Tough one. I'm sorry. Trevor?
Making snowmen for sure. For sure.
And then Sheryl, what's your preference here?
I'm right there with the handsome Trevor. We're going with the snowmen. Yes, we are.
All right, we've got then, let's talk about baking. I know, Jen, you were talking about baking at the very beginning. If you're baking, are you going to be doing chocolate chip cookies or sugar cookies? You were talking about decorating earlier, so I think I know which way you're going to go.
Actually, chocolate chip cookies are my jam, and they're so easy. And with 3 toddlers, I kind of don't actually want them near icing yet. So.
We'll check back in a few years and we'll get there. Trevor, what about you? Are you baking? What's going on?
Not much of a baker, but if I was to choose, it would definitely be chocolate chip cookies. I think that's just the all-American standard. I think that is the cookie of America.
Sheryl, what about you?
Man, I love chocolate in everything.
We're not unanimous here.
Everything. I love chocolate chip cookies. I love chocolate cake. I love chocolate in my coffee in the morning. I love chocolate. So it's all about baking the chocolate chip cookies.
Real or fake Christmas trees? You got the real tree or the fake tree, Jen?
Listen, I like to put my tree up in October, and I'm a huge fan of Balsam Hill. So I'm going to go fake tree, even though I would love to wait out for a real tree, but mine would look like the national Christmas tree this year in New York if I put it up in October. So fake tree for me, because my tree goes up before Halloween. But if I was a sane person and put mine up in December, real. But we'll go fake. Balsam Hill too.
Trevor, what about you?
Real all the way. If you're growing up in Mammoth, we would go out on snowmobiles and cut our own. So that's what I'll be doing in a few weeks. Real.
And then Sheryl, what about your tree?
I absolutely have no preference because it all depends upon where I am. Sometimes when you're traveling, you can't get the tree that you would prefer, so you go with the other tree. Then if you get stranded, you go on Amazon or wherever and just order a tree. So I'm happy with either one, but I have to have lots of lights. No matter what, I have to have lights. And if I'm traveling, I'm putting lights in my suitcase because I need lights.
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. Last one here. Ugly Christmas sweaters or holiday pajamas? How are you getting dressed up for these holidays?
I do both, but I'm a big fan of ugly Christmas sweaters. Big fan.
I feel like there's something there, but I'm just going to go to Trevor.
Well, I'm just going to say before I answer that I can definitely vouch for her love of the ugly Christmas sweater, seeing as there is photos of me in one of her Hallmark movie watching sweaters that she had, sweatshirts that she had made.
Ugly, you jerk.
Okay, they weren't ugly, but it was a sweater.
Those are cute. An ugly Christmas sweater is like what I almost wore today, where you're just literally like, they have bells and ornaments and like lights and tinsel, and you're like, what are you wearing? And you're like, I don't know. Mine are cute.
Well, aren't there are degrees of ugly, right?
Thank you. Yeah. So again, digging your ditch.
Cheryl,
I'm just kidding.
Cheryl, can you please give Trevor a lifeline here?
Trevor,
help me.
I love it. Trevor didn't know how pretty his ugly sweater really was, but that's all right, Trevor. That's all right, honey. When you look like you get a pass. For me, I like pajamas. I like pajamas because on Christmas Eve, I'm in my pajamas. On Christmas morning, I'm in my pajamas. Christmas afternoon, I'm in my pajamas. Christmas evening, I'm in my pajamas. And the next day, which is Boxing Day, we have an extension on our holidays. I am in a new set of pajamas because I'm not going anywhere. But I am in my pajamas and I will buy 3 pair. Okay, one might be a little ugly, but that's all right. But I have to have, like the onesies. Now, the no matter what, the family has to have their family onesies, and they're always unattractive, but we love them. And then I get to lounge in my fabulous, real pajamas, and I have to have a nice fluffy robe, pajamas all the way, because I'm going nowhere.
I love that. Well, people who were going nowhere but were able to join us today have logged in from Kansas, from North Carolina, from Virginia, District of Columbia, Wisconsin, Illinois, Germany, Colorado, Hawaii, Arizona, Texas, Washington, California, Delaware, Oklahoma. People from all over have joined us today. And with that, I wanted to give each of you an opportunity. And Cheryl, I was going to go to you first to offer a message of support. You've clearly done some USO work in your past, and we're so thankful for it. Do you have a message of support that you'd like to offer the military members and families that are tuning in?
I remember when I was doing those tours of duty in Ramstein, in Incirlik, in Nagoya, in Truk, in Ponape, and all the places that I went and all the people that I met. I don't think anybody will ever understand enough or pay enough thanks to people who make a decision as a family to give their life to their country. I have a bonus child who serves in the Army, he and his family, West Point graduate, and the sacrifices that they make as a family. My uncle, we lost him early to COVID, Uncle O'Neill in the Air Force, and how being a veteran just added so much to his life and our whole family's life. And my Uncle Wilfred, who was in the Army, in the Navy, baby, in the Navy with, all of them. I remember the pictures that we would see of them in their uniforms, and how Uncle Wilfred graduated, went to med school, became a doctor. So, when you are of service to people, I always want to look and be able to see you and say, I thank you for your service, because it is brave just to want to be of service to others, especially those who may not understand the great sacrifice that you and your families make. And I know I understand, and I thank you all, and I wish you every happy holiday that God will ever give you, and may it be blessed for all of you.
I just want to thank all the service members, and just as Cheryl was saying, I don't think people really understand sacrifices made not only by the service members, but the families themselves. They have their loved one serving they're halfway across the world, and they have to be, and they're worrying about their safety and their well-being. And they're out there sacrificing potentially their lives for our well-being so that we can be here. And we're so blessed to be in this country, and we're to be as safe as we are. I think a lot of people take that for granted. Our born liberties and whatnot are being fought for overseas, and I think that's a lot of times it's taken for granted. But I want to let them know that they are not forgotten, and that we are truly thankful for everything they do for us. So thank you.
I can't even thank you guys enough without crying. I echo everything that Sheryl and Trevor said. I just have so much respect for you all, especially as court family members, especially when you have children or pregnant wives, overseas. And we just thank you for your sacrifice and your service. And I hope that our country honors you and remembers you very much this holiday, but always. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you all do. It doesn't go unnoticed in my household.
Thank you for that. And thanks everybody for joining us today. We've had so much fun with this partnership between the USO, Hallmark Channel, Hallmark Mysteries and Movies, Movies and Mysteries, excuse me. Sorry we didn't get to all the questions. There were so many questions that came in. We cannot wait to be able to tune in and see these as part of the slate of films. Sheryl Lee Ralph stars in Christmas Comes Twice, and that premieres Sunday, December 13th on Hallmark Channel. And Jen Lilley, Trevor Donovan both star in USS Christmas, and that premieres Saturday, November 28th on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. And be sure to check out uso.org/MVP. Lots of holiday sessions between now and the holidays over the next few weeks for you and your loved ones to enjoy. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.